Hello, everyone. We're about 2 weeks away from the launch of the new Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred expansion, and I kind of just wanted to go over some specifics about what they're bringing to the game, or what they're changing rather. And specifically, I'm going to be talking about the skill tree overhaul and kind of comparing it with two other games in the market right now, Last Epoch and Path of Exile 2 specifically. I chose those games specifically just because I feel like Path of Exile 1 and even previous Diablo games kind of aren't great for comparing these specific aspects, and just kind of wanted to go over the identity of the skill tree in Diablo 4 and how it differs from other games in the market right now, and whether I think that the proposed changes coming in the new expansion are going to be um, transformative, or add as much flavor as that they're intending to add. Um, but there's a ton of things coming with the new expansion. I'm just on the Diablo 4 website right now, or Blizzard's promotional material that they have. They've already launched the Paladin, the Warlock, all that stuff is flashy and exciting. But I think some of the main issues with the game right now are, kind of like the actual gameplay loop and the actual play of the game, and how you progress your character throughout the zero to hero journey. So that's kind of why I wanted to make this video. Originally, I was going to do a little bit of a longer format video and go through all the changes, but I just, with the way I am and how I like to talk about these things, it would end up being like a 2 hour long video. So probably going to break that up into segments. So today I'm going to be focusing on the skill tree. So here, you've probably seen some of the videos and some of the promotional material already if you're watching this video. But Diablo 4, since its launch, people have complained about the lack of customization and class fantasy. I don't know if necessarily people have complained about the class fantasy aspect of it, but I think that would probably be one of my critiques, or one of my complaints about the current system, is that the skill tree is very confined, and the actual customization of how you play your skills is locked behind gear. And in previous interviews, I can't remember whoever the head of the team was at the time. I think they've left at this point, but I know that vision is kind of carried over into the expectations of the new expansion. But they wanted to remove the skill customization from gearing and just have it be embedded in the skill tree. And I do think that was probably, or I think that was the right move to make. But I have been playing these games for a while now, and I've gotten pretty familiar with the actual like skills and progression systems for skills specifically in these other games that I'm bringing up today. And I kind of just want to talk about the differences in them between these two different games that I think are probably the most similar if you're going to make some kind of comparison between these systems to Diablo 4, and whether or not I think that the proposed changes are going to solidify an identity for Diablo's skill system, and give it more life, because I think that it's probably one of the biggest things that's needed right now. So I've pulled up some examples here. This is kind of like a general. This is like a general overview of what the current system looks like. It's kind of confined. These are your basic skills. These are your core skills, and you pick your basic skill like Firebolt, And then you get 2 or 3 options that you can use to customize it. And it's not really customizing how it functions. It's just giving it, more damage, or, it's giving it some kind of proc, like, you hit somebody with a firebolt and you apply, vulnerable or something, which is like a damage multiplier. So it doesn't really influence the class theme. It's just like numbers. The skill tree is just providing power and numbers specifically, um, for your skills. And there is a couple of like transformative options in some of the skills. Like, you can change like the actual tag on the skill to fit like a different tag from a corresponding, element or something, depending on what class you're playing. But it still doesn't have a lot of transformative options. So I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of the difference between what the skill tree looks like for last Epoch. So I don't know what the skill is specifically. I was just looking up general reference photos, but you can kind of see the disparity between, choosing this one skill. Like, this is one skill and you get 3 options, and then this is one skill and you have like 50 options. And, depending on which direction you go, it completely changes how the skill works. Um, and not even with the current gearing system in Diablo can you come anywhere near close what this is offering for one specific skill. So this is, and last Epoch is kind of like on I would say the um, higher end of that spectrum of skill customization, even more so than Path of Exile in some regards, in terms of like actually having that just baked into the skill tree. Because with Path of Exile 2, the skill system kind of like works a little bit differently. It's itemized, kind of, or it's more itemized in terms of you need currency to influence, the customization of your skills. Um, but you can see here, say you have like your main skill here, it's like crossbow shot, and then you find different support gems, and then you can kind of change the way it works, and you really kind of get like an infinite possibilities, on how you want to like make your skill function. You can make crossbow shot shoot 5 projectiles instead, or you can convert it all into fire, and you have a lot of creativity there. And I'll just go back to this original skill tree. You can kind of see that's just not present here. So that's the current state of it. Now, the proposed system, which is this last screenshot here, we've kind of gotten a couple of videos here, but we haven't really gotten to see, how in depth it really is going to be. But you can see this one skill here, and you have, your 3 main options, but then you have a couple of different branching options, and you're actually getting more ability to, put more skill points into the actual skill itself. So just circling back to kind of what this whole video is about. Is this new skill tree going to be transformative, and is it going to be, solidifying an identity for, the way that you customize your character? I think it's definitely, just based off of what I'm seeing here, it's obviously improved. Just, the bare bones nature of it is already improved. I think they just haven't really released enough information for me to give like a really solid answer on that. My hope is that, some of these nodes here are going to be transformed, like a fairly transformative, and actually changing like how your skill works, like some kind of spark skill, like if it's a lightning bolt, if I go this way, I can make it chain, or I can make it spiral, or I can turn it into a ball lightning, or something like that, and kind of try to bring it more up to par with the customization of these other games in the genre. Because while I do like the chase of a gear item to influence my power. I think that it's I think they bake too much of that into the current itemization in Diablo because their purpose or their goal specifically was they want to put the customization in the skill tree and then have your gear be your power source, which I think generally speaking that's probably the right thing to do because currently it's all of it. You get a little bit of inherent power in the skill tree, not too much customization, but then the customization actually ends up being the gear that you find. And I think that's kind of a weird and backwards way of going about it. So I do agree with the philosophy. I would like to. I hopefully they release some patch notes or some more updated skill trees just to kind of give us a better idea of really how this is going to function. But I think it's going in the right track. It's kind of still, I would say, too early to tell, even though the launch is 2 weeks away. Um, I would like more information to be released on it. I think it's kind of too early to say, but I do think that if they do it right, if all the customization gets built into the skill tree, all of the power and influence of how powerful your skills are baked into the gear, I think it's going to be a considerably better experience in terms of going from zero to hero and actually building out a class fantasy and hopefully if they do hit all those marks or at least make some noticeable improvements, that can improve the current situation of just the class fantasy because to me that's kind of where it's lacking in a lot of respects. Um, it's kind of all I have on that right now, but I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts. Like to have a discussion. If you disagree or agree, feel free to comment below. Thanks.